Hey guys, how's it going? Today we are going to be putting in a corn and tomato bed, and so we identified the south side of the garage here as having probably one of the better microclimates on the property. And so what we did, and I should have captured this on film, but I just got so excited to use the rebuilt tractor that I just finished rebuilding. I'm just going to take off the lens cap here so it doesn't bug you guys, that I just went ahead and rototilled it. And so a couple things I wanted to talk about today. Number one, I'm always talking about no-till, and here I am going and rototilling. So I think tillage is a great tool, and it can be used effectively to achieve certain ends. The problem with tillage that I have is that when we just constantly use it without any kind of conscious design, we end up doing a lot of damage, or can do a lot of damage. And so it's just another tool in the toolbox. And so we use tillage today to break up the sod. And now we're going to go back in. It's pretty windy. I apologize if you're getting a lot of wind through the dead cat there. So today what we're going to do with the rototilled area now is we're going to come in and sheet mulch it. And so I'm going to apply some nutrient to the soil, and I'll talk a bit about that in a second. Then we're going to apply some cardboard, and then we're going to put wood mulch on top of it. So most of the video is just going to be us working in the background, and I'll take stops every so often just to explain what I'm doing. So here's a shot of the area that we're going to cover. So just kind of a garden bed and a half in width. We've gone over it with the rototiller about 3 or 4 times, and now I'm going to come in and prep the soil for planting to corn and tomatoes, which are both plants that love lots of heat. All right, so colleagues of mine at Ecogrowth have a business that collects organic waste and then they dehydrate it. And one of the processes that they run the dehydrated material through is, or one of the uses of it is they burn it for thermal energy. And so I told them, well, maybe we should see if we can use this stuff to grow food. And so I took a whole bunch of it back to the farm here, and I'm going to split my 2 beds there. I've got 2 separate beds that are delineated by a power line going in the ground. I'm going to split them into 4 segments because one's going to have corn and one's going to have tomatoes and probably some other crops. So I am going to distribute this material, and I'm going to put this stuff onto half of both of the 2 beds so that we have a control, and we're going to see if there's a significant difference at the end of the year from the bed that we apply it to versus the bed that we don't apply it to. So that's what this stuff is right here. It's basically dehydrated food. And if you think about what food is basically just a bunch of micro and macronutrients. And so they've essentially just concentrated those micro and macronutrients and the organic carbon down into this dry material. We're going to apply it pretty lightly to the soil because it's pretty concentrated, and we'll see what happens. And then after that, we're going to put some cardboard on top of it and then some wood mulch, and we'll probably put a bit more of this in with the wood mulch as well. So I'll make sure that I put some flags into the ground to show where there is this material versus where there isn't. Okay, so the area in this bed here that is contained within the 2 flags is going to have this material on it. And then the bed in the back will have the same thing. We'll split the bed into 2, and the area that is contained within the 2 red flags is going to have this material in it. So here we go. And those are fresh wood chips. Okay, so that's sheet mulching, and it's pretty simple. You can put way more layers in it than that. You can put in grass clippings and manure. This was pretty quick and fast, and we used the materials that we had at hand, and the soil already looked pretty good anyways. Now, most people when they plant a garden would just rototill it and plant into it, but when you do that, you create a disturbance pattern, and in doing that, you're going to basically start the weed cycle. And so in anticipation of that, we laid all the cardboard over top and then put the mulch on top of that. The cardboard is going to give us a 2 to 3 month window to suppress those weeds while we establish other plants on top of it. And we've just decided we're going to plant squash and corn, probably some beans and maybe some tomatoes in there. Now, some people might look at this and say, oh, it's not very pretty looking. But keep in mind, this whole building is going to get redone. We're going to re-side it and re-insulate it. This bed will likely have to get stripped of its topsoil before we do that. And then we'll rebuild a proper bed here down the road. So we're really just building soil in the interim. We haven't had a lot of time to plant our gardens this year. Everything has kind of happened really quickly with COVID. And so what's going to happen now is that the cardboard is going to basically decompose over a couple of months. We've put some pretty fresh chips on here, which is kind of a no-no in gardening, wood chips that is, but they're not really interacting with the soil at this stage because they're sitting on top of that cardboard layer. And so by the time the cardboard has decomposed, the wood chips will be that much further aged, and they'll have been watered, and insects are going to have started to interact with it. And so I don't think it's going to actually be an issue at all. In fact, the chips are going to cool the soil down, keep the moisture in, and provide really important organic matter as this bed evolves over time. So it's a bit of an experiment. We're going to see what happens. We've chosen a really great microclimate. We've got a lot of reflection off of this wall. Other ways that you could manipulate that microclimate might be to change the color. So you could go to a black or a dark color, which would actually hold the heat as opposed to reflecting the light. We live in a climate where we've got lots of light, and the night times tend to be a bit colder, and so focusing on a material that would store thermal energy would probably be a better choice in terms of enhancing this microclimate. Down the road, we'll see what we do, but after a couple of experimentations, a couple of summers, we'll probably get a really clear sense of how to best utilize this space. So hopefully that made sense. Just one more resource for you. If you are looking for a resource on sheet mulching, Gaia's Garden by Toby Hemmenway has a great piece inside of that book specifically on sheet mulching. So if you want to get it from somebody that is really good at it, he's the guy that I'd recommend. And yeah, leave any questions you have in the comments below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.